Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED this January 30th. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related topics and issues. And, well, in 5.5 years, we've never run out of things to talk about, Joe. Today is another example of that.
And I tell you, Pete, I think about the hottest topic in our local real estate market right now is we need listings. We need sellers to get into the game, and we need some new homes to come onto the market. We're facing a pretty critical inventory shortage. So,
well, we've been saying that for now almost over a year. The gap is continuing of more sales than there are new listings replacing those. It continues to be a seller's market. Prices are up. Right?
Yeah, we got a great note from Jim Remley, our owner and principal broker at John L. Scott, of how the last year to this year listings to this point in time, we're really down. So for sellers out there, it's your time, and if you've got any kind of notions that you might want to be on the market, it's a great time to be there.
Well, I went this week to the 13th annual Southern Oregon Business Conference. It was Thursday of this week, and they've basically had some, economists there and, guys who mess with this kind of stuff. And the one thing that came out of it is that the Jackson County economy has rebounded back to the levels right above where it was before the Great Recession. There is one, however, glaring weakness in the economy. What do you think that is?
Jobs?
No, it's housing. It's the housing thing that we talk about every week here.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there as they're talking about this, and all these people are there. I'm going, we know this. This is not new. Because they basically said that the housing, multifamily and single-family housing in Jackson County is not there.
Yep.
And we're seeing that in all the statistics that we see.
And our population is set to double in the next 20 years.
Anyway,
Where
so there's
are all those people going to live?
I don't know. And who's, we heard from Tim Alvarez last week, from Claudio Alvarez Construction, and he's doing, but they're not doing enough of it. It's not keeping up with the demand. Anyway, that's kind of the story that we have in real estate this week, and it continues to be that way. Anyway, Guest Talk with Guy Giles has joined us here today. Guy is our resident mortgage expert here on the Real Estate Show, and well, what's happening with that world? I mean, are you surprised by the rates actually going down after the Fed raised the interest rate?
Actually, not at all. We're kind of in the same boat where, we might look a little bit better than some of the other nations around the world, but China right now, they're showing a ton of weakness, and there's just over in Europe, there's just a lot of things going on around the world that are affecting our rates, and that really has a lot to do with what we've seen in the last week and a half.
And as a result, what I heard this week is that those rates are not going to go up very much. Yeah. And that's really good, I think, for consumers and for people in the housing world. And that's good to hear.
You get great mortgage interest rate loans if you can find a house to buy.
Yeah, well, and we tell you, and we talk about, the available homes per buyer. Remember that statistic that we talk about all the time. If you're in that up to $150,000, 0 to 150,000, there's no inventory. You're into 150 to 250. It's like less than a month's supply. So that's why they're getting multiple offers on these things, and people have to be ready to go. If you're doing it, you better be ready. You're going to lose it.
Typical robust market, we have 6 months supply, and we're far below that in every category.
Yeah, we really are. So it's a really interesting situation that we find ourselves in here in the Rogue Valley. Well, speaking of housing, there's one group. When you think of that, right, a nonprofit group that supports housing, that's Habitat for Humanity. That's one of the the cornerstones, I suppose, of that. They've been around a long time, and Vanessa Rosenberg, who is the volunteer coordinator, has joined us today. Vanessa, talk right into that thing now. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Habitat for Humanity, it's been around a long time. How long has it been in the Rogue Valley? Some of those histories behind this group?
We've been in the Rogue Valley since 1987.
Since 87? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what have they done over those years? Tell me we've done news stories with them over the years, Joe, with Habitat.
All the time, yeah.
I hear people say they want to volunteer. I hear things like that.
We know a lot of people that are supporters and involved in their project.
So tell us a little bit about what you actually do.
We build houses in partnership with low-income people in our area. We service all of Jackson County, so they have to meet 3 main criteria. They have to have a willingness to partner.
Willingness to partner.
Willingness to partner. So they put in 500 hours of sweat equity, volunteering with us on the job site, in the restore, events, that kind of stuff. They need to have the ability to pay. So they're between 40 and 60% of the federal median income based on their family size. And they do pay us back on a 30-year zero-interest mortgage. So their payments are between $500 and $600 a month. So they're very affordable and reasonable for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap my whole thing up because I cannot beat that rate at all. So, this will be my last time on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but that's. I mean, it's a different world, is what they're looking at, right?
Yeah, and it's a really neat program, and it does things to meet one of our glaring needs, which is low income and middle income housing, and we see the shortage that's ahead. How do people get involved and get into the program and start the process? Because they end up partnering with their sleeves rolled up and actually pounding nails and working on the project. It's a really neat story how that all comes together, and the end product changes their lives.
We hold an application orientation generally once a year where we look for the people to partner with us. We will be doing that twice this year, both coming up. So next week on February 4th, we will be holding an orientation in Rogue River at Hope Presbyterian Church at 6 p.m. That's kind of for the Rogue River area, a little bit further away. And for the Medford area, it will be February 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Habitat Administrative Office on South Pacific Highway. So they come to that meeting, they can get all the information on our program, what it takes to qualify, and get an application and go over everything we have to offer.
So they don't need to necessarily do anything before. They could just show up at these two places and start then?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Tell me what, how many houses have you built? You build 5 a year, 10 a year, 1 a year? What is Habitat actually doing in terms of this?
We generally build 4 to 6 a year.
4 to 6 in Jackson County?
Yes.
4 to 6, okay.
So we just have completed 56 houses. We just dedicated houses 55 and 56 right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We have house 57 in construction right now.
Where at?
It is on...
I got you, stumped you there, baby.
You did.
But you got
It's on Connell.
Are the homes
Is that at Eagle Point? Yeah.
No, it's in Medford.
Are the homes that Habitat built? Tell me about them. Are they certain? You have to be certain sizes. Does the person who partners with you get any say in the building of them, or how does that part of it work?
So the houses are generally 900 to 1,200 square feet.
9 to 1,200. Okay,
Not necessarily.
that's a
very
good
big.
size. That's a good size.
They are. We do a lot of zero lot line houses, so it's kind of like a duplex. We do single family homes if it's necessary. It depends on the need of the family, the size of the family. If it's a single person, what the house may look like. They don't get a lot of choice as in what goes into the house. There are a few things that they
And are they
get to be involved in.
And are most of them for families? Is that what the purpose is? It wouldn't be like for just a couple, but for people with kids and families. Is that fair?
No, it's
Okay.
actually open to anybody and everybody. So the houses we just dedicated, one was just a single mother with one child, and the other one was an elderly disabled couple. So there's no limitation or qualification on size of family that we build for.
I would think that finding the land can be quite a
Would be a
challenge,
problem.
and finding the properties, places to create and build these properties. How does that process work? Because we had a little bit of an excess of foreclosed land and cheap land, but as we know on the program, that's pretty much all gone now.
If we get land donated, it's great. That's the case in Rogue River. We had a large piece of property donated, so we are hoping to get approval to
Well,
build
I hope
16
that
homes.
People hear that out there if they ever have wish to bequeath some property.
So you could give the
My
property
gosh, yeah.
to Habitat for that.
It would be a godsend for a number of families, just depending on the size of the property.
But if
Right.
if not, then you have to pay, right? You have to buy the
Right.
land at market value, I assume. Is that correct? Or close to it?
We get the best deals we can find.
Yeah.
Definitely.
have
But
to shop hard.
yes.
Are sellers? Does that make a difference, Joe? Have you ever heard that about in terms of sellers for property? Say, does Habitat come by and say, "I want to buy this property," kind of thing to somebody? Is that how that would work?
I don't know that I can honestly answer that one.
Okay.
I know we look for
Lots.
we
You
look for
got-
lots definitely,
Okay.
and sometimes people come to us and say that they have property they want to
to build
to
on.
get rid of and sell at a lower price to Habitat. So
I love it when people come ask me for deep questions about things. So if you don't know the answer to this, it's totally fine. But do you know, I mean, are there any tax breaks or anything for somebody that was willing to come donate? And if you don't know the answer, don't.
I don't
Kind
know
of
the
on the
answer.
spot. Okay.
I would think that if someone's donating to a 501c3, which Habitat is, and you get the write-offs or something like that, I would think that would be there. The question, though, is that you said, Joe, is that there's not a lot of lots, and so could Habitat build more than 4 to 6 if they had available land, or is it difficult to, or is that just a stopping the whole thing?
Right now, it's not stopping it. We do have property we're waiting to build on, so it's.
So you have
we always need the property. We always need the fundraising to back it to be able to continue building. So, and we need to find the right people who want to partner with us and be part of our program.
Well, when we build a house, I think the median price in the Jackson County was almost $300,000. Okay, for new construction. Now, how does Habitat fit into that? Is it? I mean, someone's got to pay for something out of these properties, right?
So generally, our houses are primarily built by volunteers. So we do have contractors who do certain pieces of it, but with the volunteer help, we can generally build a house for about $60,000.
So you're just paying for the
you're
materials.
paying the materials.
Yeah.
Some of it, we get a lot donated as well.
And volunteers, you're the volunteer coordinator. And didn't you tell me, Guy, that you volunteered? Have you done some Habitat stuff in the past?
I've worked on 4 houses, so those are probably worth about $22,000 each. So I won't say which ones they are, but yeah, I've helped on a few of the builds, and it's a great program. If you even for, I think they have some things where younger kids can kind of come out and help, and they may not be on a roof, but they'll find something for everybody to do. And I've done it through Helping Hands, and it is anyway, it's a great program.
And how does one volunteer to do that then?
They call me. They call 541-779-1983, and we offer volunteer orientations every Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Well, what are you looking for? I mean, tell people what you're looking for.
I'm good at deconstruction. Do you have any
We get those
projects
occasionally.
where you tear buildings down? Because because the other end of that, you probably have better hands with guys like that.
I mean, building a house is not an easy thing to do, and doing it with volunteers is just. I mean, it's
I would
really
consider it to be a great learning experience too, to be part of a team that builds a house like that. Think of all the things that we would learn you could apply to your own home. And
all the ones that I've been on have had a really good foreman out there that's really lining people out, and there's usually enough people out there with some construction background that can.
Not even I could screw it up.
Yeah, pretty much for anybody.
We're talking about Habitat for Humanity today with Vanessa Rosenberg, who's a volunteer coordinator at the Rogue Valley Habitat for Humanity. Guy Giles, our mortgage expert, is here as well on the Real Estate Show today. I assume that you got to have somebody who's in charge of these places, right? I mean, somebody's got to coordinate this stuff, right?
We do. We have a construction director who's out there guiding and showing everybody what to do.
Helping the volunteers and do that. How many volunteers does it take to put a house together, or how long does it take? I suppose that varies, but generally, what would that look like?
So we build 2 days a week on Wednesdays and Fridays.
That's when you're actually out
That's
on
when they're
the
building.
sites. Okay.
So occasionally on Saturdays, but primarily just 6 hours every Wednesday and Friday. And there's about 10 to 15 volunteers a day, and it takes about 6 months.
6 months to put that together. Yeah, and they're all over the valley, right there.
And think of that. If you're doing 4 to 6 a year, that's a lot of people and a lot of places, and that's a huge undertaking in the course of a year to put up a new home every 2 months.
And what is the cost? Do you know what the cost of the average would be of a home that Habitat builds? It's got to be okay.
They're around. I believe they are around $60,000.
About $60,000 to do that. That's pretty good. That's not bad. That's not a bad price. We labor, the cost of labor, which is really spendy, as you well know. Are people who buy these homes, okay, who are partners with you, are they still in them, or can they resell them, or what is their story that they can do with one because I own the home, right? I mean, it's my house. Tell me how that works.
So they make the payments to Habitat. So every
Comes
payment
to you. Okay.
they make goes to help fund the next house. They do have an option to sell the house after a certain
period of time.
Okay. And I apologize, I don't know
It's okay.
that
That's right.
exact number. But I know there is a difference between what it costs us to build a home and what the house appraises for. So there's that note on or second on the house. So if they were to sell, they would owe that back.
They would owe that back.
They would
to
owe
you then.
pretty much the market value.
If not, it's forgiven.
And if they've got a little equity beyond that, then they're
After the 30 years, it's all theirs.
Right.
So the people you're having these orientations for, people, I understand it that you have a shortage. You don't have a lot of people coming forward to getting on the list of potentially getting a house. Is that right?
That is correct.
Now that would surprise me. I mean, I was really surprised when I heard that because of just, if nothing else, just the shortage that we have in the valley, that people would want to have that, would want that, and yet we can't even fill it.
It's a bridge for a lot of people that would not be able to be homeowners to become homeowners, and that's one of the key elements. That
Well, you're talking about changing people's lives. Wouldn't that be the greatest example of all?
and live in a brand new home.
Yeah, we've got a break coming up here in the Real Estate Show. We're talking Habitat for Humanity. We're coming right back here on KMED with more. Don't forget, you can check our shows out at realestateshoworegon.com. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED, January 30th. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. Well, we've learned a lot already today, Joe. Think about that from Habitat for Humanity. They do 4 to 6 homes a year, new homes. Medford, Rogue River, around the valley.
Roll up your sleeves.
You got to put some sweat
500
equity
hours
into
of
it.
sweat equity into your property. But I would love that.
Is that
because
worth a home for you? Yeah.
I would live in a place that I actually pounded some nails and
Yeah,
did
I
all
think
that good
that's
stuff
great.
in. That would be very satisfying.
Next week here on the Real Estate Show, we'll be yapping with Tyler and Janice Jackson and John L. Scott Market Watch Show 2 weeks from today about wells, private water wells, and then the Home Builder Show coming February 19th, 20th, and 21st out at the Expo Park. We're talking today with Vanessa Rosenberg, the volunteer coordinator for Habitat for Humanity.
It's the home show from the Southern Oregon Home Builders Association.
No, Southern Oregon Builders Association. You got that wrong, didn't you?
I was trying to get the new name out there for it.
I think Brad Bennington pretty much last week, we changed that. We'll never call it that again, that's for sure. Anyway, we still have the same website, hbajc.com is where you can go.
Now that doesn't
if
make
you
sense.
want to still sign up for a booth out there at the home show. It's going to be a big event. Anyway, Habitat for Humanity today. I really, it seems to me that there are a lot of people who would benefit and qualify from getting into the hopper and pursuing this, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense?
These are folks that might be paying rent now that might own a home for near that or less even in the long run.
Well, I'm just curious, Vanessa, why I mean, how many people do you get right now to do this, to get into the hopper, to get into the system?
The last one that I saw, we had 35 applicants.
Okay.
So that was high.
And
So we definitely want
now,
more.
You got 35. How do you select?
We have
how
a
do you
committee.
select out of that?
We have a family services committee that will go through the submitted applications, make sure they're complete, look at their financials, and see if they can make a mortgage payment comfortably.
And that's important. That mortgage payment is probably really, really, really important in there.
Absolutely. So then once they make it through that process, they'll see who has a need, who's living in substandard housing, which can be overcrowding, or you're paying more than 50% of your income towards housing, you're living with somebody else, or rats in your walls, that just living in, have a need for housing.
Does this committee interview the applicants face to face?
Once they get down to the point of they have those families they need to select from, yes, they will go do home visits and see who's in the most need.
So
and
it's quite
we'll
a process
partner and do it
then.
all. It is, yes.
It's quite a process then. Yeah. And it's everybody. It's not just certain segments of the population that can be serviced and use this. That's good to know. Okay.
Habitat's been around here since 1987. National, how did it come about? Where was the original inspiration for Habitat for Humanity? How big is it nationwide or beyond?
So it started in Americus, Georgia by Millard Fuller. He had the idea, plan, and he went with it, and it is huge. It's international. I can't answer how many affiliates there are across the nation, but there are.
You know who really gave Habitat a big boost was Jimmy Carter, President Carter, when he volunteered many times, on Habitat homes across the country. I remember after he left the presidency.
Came from Georgia. That makes sense.
He came from Georgia. I was just saying I didn't realize that myself. So that makes a little
the number one volunteer.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, so I'm just curious as to why we need to get more people in and get these properties used. I mean, 4 to 6. we still have such a housing shortage, and it'd be cool to see a lot more come up.
Probably part of the challenge is just to get the word out and for people to be aware that the opportunity exists.
Now, Habitat has to raise money. I know that you have to raise money because I've seen you have a store, I believe now. You've moved over the last few years down on South Pacific Highway. What do you have all there? I've never been in there, to be honest with you. So I'm curious as to
You've
what all
never
is
been
there.
in our restore.
I've never been there. No, I haven't. I mean, I have to say that.
I think the restore is a huge asset to us, and everybody should go check it out. A lot of people think
it's a restore. What does that mean?
That's the national branding. It's a building store, essentially.
You want to restore your home?
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
okay.
So there's a little bit of everything in there. They sell furniture, they have paintings, they have the cabinets and dishwashers, and
They don't have motorcycles
everything.
anymore, though. I haven't been in there since.
they do not.
Yeah.
So it sounds like all three of you need to go to the restore.
And that's a income generating business for Habitat
does.
then.
The restore funds all of our overhead costs.
Where else does that fund the whole thing?
All of the overhead costs and administrative fees. So
Really?
everything that's donated to Habitat goes 100% towards construction.
To the homes. Yeah,
Wow.
excellent.
That's a pretty good deal. I like the reason I like, and a lot of groups have been doing this more. Having for St. Vincent de Paul, Goodwill, Salvation Armies, those kinds of things all have stores, but Habitats is unique among them. It sounds like, and it certainly is good for what they particularly do.
Right.
Yeah, that's good to hear that. I like it because you don't always ask me for money. Right? I mean, you're generating your own money by your own store to help in the nonprofit world and to help other people. That's tremendous.
So when they
like that.
donate
I
to
like
the
it.
restore, it stays local.
Yeah, I like that a
So
lot.
people donate items. to the
Everything at
store.
the store is donated from
that's cool.
individuals and businesses.
So there could be a little bit of everything.
Just a
there.
little bit of everything.
We need to go to the restore.
You'd have a lot of fun.
I'm thinking it's like a big garage sale with their stuff all the
It's
time.
fabulous.
Hello.
Well, it all points back to the issue of housing
I
in
think
our
I'm going to go
valley.
by myself, though, not Mrs. Brett.
No, you don't want to do that.
You
You
find
may
too
come
many
back with
things
that.
there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how this will go. We wish you well, actually, in your work, and I hope that people will come forward again and sign up to be part of it. It changes your life. I mean, there's no question.
And how about people who are set, have their homes, but would really like to help these other people through the program be part of the process of building and volunteering? Where can they find more information or kind of get started if they'd like to roll up their sleeves and help these folks and feel good about adding these great homes and opportunities for families in our community?
They can go to our website at roguevalleyhabitat.org or contact our office at 541-779-1983.
So they use this thing, Joe, by saying if you want to own your own home, and we know how pressure on rents are and the prices of renting. John L. Scott is having, I think on the, I'll get this date for you, but they're having a renter seminar that Jim Remley is putting on, actually. I'll give you the date. I don't have it on the top of my head right. It's coming up in February, to where, rents are so rising so high that people can't afford those rents. So Habitat is one way for some people who could afford that, and I hope people will take a look at that. So if you live in substandard housing, and God, we have a lot of that around.
And by gosh, I mean, you remove that risk of your rental being taken out from underneath your soul. I mean, the stability that could provide for your family by owning your own home,
Or the rent.
and at such a discounted rate to be able to get in such an affordable rate. That's really a win-win for everyone.
The other problem is that rents are rising as a result of the shortages that we're seeing in the housing market, and that puts more pressure, especially on low-income homeowners. So again, if you live in substandard housing right now, or somebody, I think that's the other thing here for our listeners. If you know somebody who's in that situation, and they have a monthly income, okay, but a home just out of their reach, and you're willing to put in, as you said, 500 hours of sweat equity into the project, then you ought to look this. It's worth this. Even if you, it may take you a year or two, maybe sometimes if you're on a list or you have your stories and stuff.
And we're
but it's
news
really well
hounds.
worth it.
We're news hounds. We read the newspaper and watch the news every day. We see those Habitat for Homes families when they unlock that front door each time the project is finished. It's a testimonial over and over again to lives that are being changed in such a positive way. And it's just a compliment to all of the volunteers and all of the people that rally with and work with your organization to make each one of those dreams come true. because that's really truly how you build your community from within. Is you rope your sleeves, put the barn up all together like we used to do it way back when.
So in 2016, they're going to be building homes in Medford and Rogue River. All right, February 4th, 6 o'clock at the Hope Presbyterian Church in Rogue River. February 9th, 6:30, the Habitat Administration Building out there on the South Pacific Highway. So, gosh, if you know somebody or you're in that situation, I would certainly encourage you to do so. It'll change your life.
Right there.
I love it. It'll change your life.
Yeah.
And obviously you got to get a thrill out of that, Vanessa, to see that every day.
It is
don't
great.
You? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, good for Habitat for Humanity. We need groups like that. We
Good
need
for our
housing. We
valley.
need more of it. Hey, the Real Estate Show, one more segment to go here today. We're talking all about Habitat for Humanity, little mortgage interest rates, little market talk as well. The Real Estate Show rolls on. Don't forget, check our shows out at realestateshoworegon.com. We're coming right back after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcastro with you, and thanks for joining us. Next week, we have a John L. Scott Market Watch show. We'll update you on the market as we go into February. And 2016, it's amazing. It's already off to a pretty good start again in terms of selling. There's just not much inventory out there, as you know, and as a result of that, the rental market in Jackson County still is less than 2% vacancy rate, and on and on it goes. It's a ripple effect in this real estate market. When you just it's such a supply and demand business, and man, when you've got when it's out of whack, it really causes some concerns. Today we're talking with Vanessa Rosenberg, who's a volunteer coordinator at Habitat for Humanity, and just to remind you that they only open up this application process once a year, and now's the time. So if you're looking. If you're looking or you know someone who, again, low income, living in substandard housing, willing to help build a home and can pay a small portion, then Habitat's the way to go. They utilize volunteer labor to build a home, and at completion, they sell it at a no-interest 30-year note. That's really cool. The monthly payment of around $500, and then then the Habitat becomes the bank and use the monthly funds received to build future homes. I mean, you got to say that's like the well-rounded kind of where it's like perfect, almost perfect, isn't it? And it works.
It does.
And it's a proven track record, Vanessa, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone really well and worked really well, and we pride ourselves on knowing these families.
Yeah, and knowing them and changing people's lives is what Habitat does, and that's really good to do. So they're going to build more houses this year. So again, February 4th and February 6th are going to be those orientations, and I still encourage you to do that because it doesn't happen very often, and it's good stuff.
I am kind of curious on how many people are volunteering. I was talking to Cheryl Malone a little while ago today, and she helps out in a lot of ways in the community, and she was mentioning that she'd worked on a couple of houses. Do you guys have any numbers on how many people from the community have actually got involved over the years?
We have over 1,000 active volunteers a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go out and do that. Actually, go out and do it.
But that's volunteering with every aspect of Habitat. Yes.
out at the sites and
But
doing
generally,
the whole thing.
like I said, we just dedicated 2 homes, and I believe there were around 600 volunteers that came through those properties and helped build.
Isn't that cool? I mean, that's really neat. That's nice to hear.
It's great.
And I don't think you're ever going to run out of projects. The biggest concern I would say is that we've talked about is getting available land to build Habitat homes. I know the Home Builders Association, they build a home every year and sell it and use the proceeds for fund their projects and stuff. But it's a lot different than what Habitat does. But again, it's somebody gets a home that they would never have been able to do.
Right.
And as we say, gosh, Guy, it's easier. It's so smarter to buy than rent today because it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent today with prices the way they are. So
it really is, and even if you're paying a 4% rate, which is about where conventionals are right now, by the time you get the tax benefits from the thing, you can take another percent and a half off of that. So. When it's all said and done, if you can get in plus the appreciation factor, I mean, it makes sense to go ahead and try to get into something.
Yeah, well, I like to see it happen, and it's a wonderful project and wonderful program, and I'm so glad that we have it here in the Valley because a lot of communities don't have this ability to do this and fill that niche. Wish we had just more of it. I think that's the biggest thing. Do you see that, Vanessa? When we hear in our show over the year, we so many people that are. Don't have, want to buy, can't, those types of things. So I just hope that people kind of take advantage of that, because we have a housing shortage here in our valley, and it's not going to get any better. There's going to be more pressure on Habitat to do that. Maybe you have to build more homes, and Guy, you're going to have to, loan the stuff to build this.
I'm already seeing this kind of thing with the different loan programs just loosening up, and I hope we don't swing as far as we did, back in 05, 06, where we were just loaning to anybody that had a pulse. But by the same token,
you're not doing that now.
No,
you don't do anything near that.
We're not. But I've had a lot of people. The subprime word is coming around more and more again, and it's scary. It's nothing I ever engaged in my business at all. But the problem is you're going to have housing prices going up, and then once it hits that threshold where people cannot afford to buy, then they think of ways to loosen things up, and then it's just kind of a race toward mediocrity when it comes to lending. So I don't think we'll make the mistakes, and I don't see the consumers acting crazy like they were either in the old days when they'd come in and want to go way over their head. I'm seeing a lot more responsible people. I don't know, just
who are
every
coming
day.
in and applying for loans.
Yes,
and they've got jobs. Well, I mean, the unemployment rate, we've got to have a good economy to have a housing market. As you know, in Jackson County, we had 8.2% unemployment a year ago. Today it's 6.5%, so it's come way down. We have more people working in our county than we've ever had before. The Southern Oregon Business Forum says that the biggest weakness we have is in housing. And so we may have gains in jobs and gains in this, but if we don't have any housing for people, then there's more substandard housing, there's more problems, there's a lot of things going on with that. So it really is a ripple effect every time we look around, Guy. You can't get out of it.
No, it's just kind of a tough situation, but like I said, I think a lot of people learned from what we went through a few years ago. I mean, I meet everybody from the doctor to just everybody, and someone, everybody went through something during this whole thing, and I think everybody's learned from it. So even though we'll probably loosen up some things, it's still a great time. Is it
easier now for people who went through foreclosures and short sales and all those kind of things that dominated the market so long? Are those people getting back? Are they able to buy again now? Or is loans being able to for them?
A lot of them are. That's one thing that we engage in, is we have some portfolio money to where we'll loan to some of those people before their actual seasoning time is up on these. It's not going to be the same rate you'd get, but they're really not bad at all. And it's just kind of an interim thing to if you're losing, what did everything appreciate at last year? I feel like I make up numbers whenever we talk about it, but you guys have the real ones.
The county overall, remember, had a 7% rise in real market value in January 1st of last year. We don't know what it is this year. We're going to hear that later on this year, what that rise is going to be. Yeah, so values are still going up. There's no question about that.
Yeah, with them going up like that, I mean, the rates, even if you don't get the rock bottom one, which you would always hope for, you still, I think you're going to come out ahead if you can just kind of get in the game right now.
Well, you got to get in the game or you can't play.
Right.
And I just think that the way we've gone over the years, and that the housing issue of multi-family housing, I mean, we don't have it. Does Habitat build? You actually ever build multiple units, or are they all single family, Vanessa? I don't know that.
We build 0 lot line houses, so it's kind of like a duplex.
Okay, all right. So
and
you
then
do those
single family homes, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you would do. No complexes or things like that. Habitat doesn't do that. That's like other groups, I suppose, that would do that. Well, look, Habitat for Humanity, check it out. Your website, I know, is what? So you can give that to us?
RogueValleyHabitat.org.
Okay, and that you can find those dates for those orientations. And please tell your friends to get on the list, get out there and get something done. Guy Giles as well. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, probably the TV next time.
We'll see you as well. Good luck to you as well. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show today on KMED. For Pete and Joe, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Saturday, and God bless.
Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED.